Hello, everyone, and welcome to the GAIN UK volunteer drop-in session. We're so glad that you could come and join us today, whether that's now online or if you're going to be watching the recording later. Thank you so much for joining us. A special shout out goes to all of our volunteers at the moment because it is National Volunteer Week. So we couldn't be more grateful for you having us on your screens today, but also just thank you for all of the support that you have of GAIN. We could not have the reach that we have without you, so thank you so much. We are just going to be talking a little bit about GAIN and what our kind of mission and goals are now, just because some of you may be really familiar with GAIN and some of you might be joining us to hear a little bit more about what we do. So on to the next slide, a little bit about our mission. So we are here to inspire and empower the next generation of women and non-binary investment professionals. And our vision is to reach over 25,000 students each year by 2030. And we are happy to say we are on track for that. And once again, that is only because of the work that you all put in to supporting GAIN. So thank you so much. And we do aspire to increase the rate of applications to the investment firms of women and non-binary people to 30% in the longer term. So that is a big goal of ours, and we are still tracking slowly to make sure that we get there by 2030. So onto our goals. We think it's really important to introduce students to the industry. We know that knowledge is power, and so many students that we work with tell us that they didn't even know about the investment management industry, let alone what a career could look like in the space. So it's really important that we're kind of myth busting and then inspiring students by having role models like yourself to kind of come in and either talk about what it is like to be a woman or a non-binary student in the space, or what it looks like to be a male ally, to kind of inspire students to take part in this space and kind of map out a career. So how do we do this? We have three different kind of ways that we support students, and that is reaching over 50,000 students currently, and with our 2,000 volunteers. Once again, cannot stress enough how important it is that you support us in the work that you do with us. So we have events, programs and resources. We are going to touch a little bit more on events, but that does look like at a school level, doing things like school talks and careers fairs, and then at a university level, looking more like panel events, also careers fairs, guest lectures, and then insight days, which is where we take students to firms, and that can be at a university level or at a school level, looking at years 10 to 13. We also have our programs, and we will touch on this a little bit more, and that looks like from your level as a volunteer, kind of mentoring on these programs. So we have our investment challenge, we have our investment insight program, and then our empower internship program. All of those sound very similar, so we understand if you get those confused, because we do sometimes as well. But once again, we'll kind of talk a little bit more about what it could look like to mentor and all of those a little bit later. And then, of course, we have our resources. So once again, we want to stress that knowledge is power. All of these resources that we have are here to support students either now or to grow their future. So they're for students currently, or they're our alumni to kind of support that early career and what that space kind of looks like, because we know that can be also a challenge for young people. So we have our student newsletter that goes through all of these opportunities and the ones that come up regularly. We have our jobs and opportunities board, which is very, very popular and takes up a lot of our time because we know that firms really want to advertise that they work with GAIN and support GAIN, and it's really wonderful for students to know that if they use our portal, they're working with firms that really encourage gender diversity. And then, of course, we have the rest of our resources that are available to students on our website, one of those being podcast. And once again, you can volunteer to, be part of our podcast as well, because we know that we need to continually hear from people that are, shaping and shifting the industry. So our reach, really important. If we can move on to the next slide, that looks like at a university level, we have about 64 society partners, and that could look like gender diversity society, so women in business, women in finance, or it could be, really niche society partners that we have that are, sports or arts or things like that, where they want to hear a little bit more about what it actually looks like to be someone who's curious and looking to enter into an industry that they don't have necessarily like technical experience in, but want to kind of understand what it could look like. And that covers 57 universities in all regions in the UK. We are really lucky to partner with universities everywhere. But keep note that while that's universities everywhere, we do know that the majority of the industry is in London, and we are going to talk about what it looks like to volunteer both in person and online later. So make sure you kind of keep your eyes on that idea of what we look like at a national scale. So we're really lucky to say that we've reached over 2,500 students in 2024 at a university level. And that covers our programs, our events, and also our careers fairs and things like that, where we once again get to introduce the industry to students. At a school level, we're really lucky to say that we have reached over 200 schools since we launched, and that's in partnerships with our programs, and once again with talks that we do with students all around the nation. And so we are really lucky to say as well that we actually work in the Channel Islands. And I don't think that there are a lot of gender diversity charities that can say that they work in the Channel Islands. So it really does say just how much students really crave this knowledge and just how important it is that we are out there talking to them. And we've reached nearly 10,000 school students in 2024, which is huge. So we are really excited to see kind of what we can do by 2030. So moving on to the what. So we have a couple of different ways that we reach students, like we kind of just spoke about. The first one at a school level, so we do run events from colleges and schools, and that can be from 10 to 13. We have a couple of different options, in person and virtual. The first one is careers talks. Majority of those come in person. However, we do encourage people to look at what it could look like virtually as well. Schools are usually less keen on that, just like because they want people to kind of be coming in and talking in person. So if you have a local school that you work with, or if you have a school that you want to go back to, because we all love a bit of nostalgia, please reach out to us and we can kind of support you going into your local schools and talking about what your experience as an investment manager or working in the space can be to students. We also have careers fairs, and these can either span in specific schools, or it could be multiple schools coming together, and you'll kind of be talking about your experience in the industry. These are really critical for students that are kind of not really sure about what their career is going to look like. Really, really helps them to kind of hear from people that they've never even heard of before. So that's a really big one for us to kind of like expand our reach. Usually when we speak to students at those careers fairs, they then take part in our programs later on down the line, which we're going to get to in a sec. And it's at those careers fairs that they heard about us. So really critical stuff there. And then, of course, we have some workshops where we kind of go in and do tasks that are outlined in school curriculum, or workshops that we've kind of designed to support students' growth and knowledge. So then we have university events. And they kind of look at two different things. So the first one is talks and panels. So it's really critical for students to kind of hear from you once again. The difference at a school level versus at a university level is we often have students that are far more familiar with what the industry looks like. So they kind of ask for more specified volunteers. So they'll be asking for people in really specific niche areas, or they'll be looking for students who are, volunteers who have just started their career. So they want to hear about, like, what are the tips and tricks to apply, and what does that look like? So we have a lot of HR professionals that come and talk to students, and then we have people that really just want to hear about what their career journey looks like, where they started, how they got there, and what we see time and time again is that there is no linear career. So regardless of your experience, students want to hear about it. I promise you they're going to have a million and one questions for you, and it's always really nice to kind of hear that they're interested regardless of where you are in your career journey. So then we also have career-led career events. So that could once again look like things like careers fairs, but oftentimes it'll be things like workshops, or more active and interactive workshops. And then of course we have guest lectures. So depending on, I guess, like what you're interested in volunteering with, we can support a whole range of different things. The last one that we do, and this is a big part of what we do here again, is mentoring. A lot of people that have mentored will also have done our other volunteering opportunities as well. But this takes part in our 3 programs. So our investment challenge, that's at our school level. We are going to be bringing that to the university level this year. So it's going to be called the Gain Society Stock Pitch Challenge. if you haven't volunteered with us in a mentoring capacity, we would love to have you at the university level this year. But that basically is what it sounds like. So it's a stock pitch challenge that runs with a couple of different skills workshops. We do something that's a little bit more generic at the school level, and then university level, it's going to be a little bit more intensive. We do are going to be operating with the understanding that they have a little bit of knowledge about the industry and stock pitches generally. And then from a mentoring capacity, you kind of look at those stock pitches, support them through their journey and their questions. And then we also ask for judges at the end to kind of, support the judging of the stock pitch. So then we have our investment insight program, and this is where students come and do some soft skills training and some technicals training, and then go and do 2 insight days at firms. And it's really important we have mentors for this, because it really takes them through, a lot of these students are first years and they're kind of looking at different career paths, and having a mentor talk to the skills that they're learning and then talk them through the kind of the questions and the supports they can get at these insight days is critical for students to kind of understand, what the career could look like. And we get a lot of really great feedback from mentoring in that program. And then the last one that we have is our flagship program. It's the investment internship program. So this is where we work with all of our partner firms, and they have interns that come in through the summer. We also provide them interns with technical and soft skills training, and our mentors are really there to support our interns throughout their entire internships. So we really recommend that you are there and available for students. We definitely know that students feel a little bit less comfortable with asking for time off during their internship to kind of support you, and we definitely tell firms that that's a really big requirement for taking part in the internship. But we also really try and recommend that, for the mentors, really encourage that relationship of taking the time to be one-on-one with you, whether that's in person or virtual. So the web. Like I said earlier, our reach is nationwide. So it's really important that we kind of talk about the opportunities that are in person and online. Our in-person and online events can look like everything that we've spoken about in terms of school tour, society and university events. Mentoring in particular, we can do in person and online. The only things that we do in person only are those careers fairs. Those are things that are at the school level or at the university level, and that's kind of directed and very physical by the places that are putting it on. So those are the only ones that we say you do have to kind of be in person for. And then ones that are, just gain only are our in-person panel events. So we run things all of the time that are about inspiring women and non-binary students to learn more. So if you're ever interested in doing something that's a little bit more workshop related, or if it's a panel event where you just kind of want to speak and you know that you have a time that's a little bit more limited, or you are geographically displaced, please let us know, and we're more than happy to support those online events. We really wanted to emphasize now the importance of in-person online. So, volunteering generally has globally declined. We know this in the last, 10 years. What we're really lucky with is an incredibly supportive cohort of volunteers that work with us and work with our students in all of the different capacities we've just outlined. What we really want to make sure that we're highlighting is how important it is to be doing both of the in-person and online. We know that the reach and the offerings are really different, but we also want to emphasize that the industry is in London, and while we have students that will travel throughout the entire country to come down to events that we have, or talks that we do, then we do have bursary funding that supports that travel. We also know that there are so many more students that we could reach if we're able to support some of these talks online. So if you are able to do both, please do. Do everything you can. We would love that. But also really keep in mind that if the more students that we talk to, regardless of if that's in person or online, the more students we're reaching. So that's a really critical one for us to just highlight just how important it is for us to be doing both. So the how. So I jumped through that one. The how. We just wanted to say that no matter what stage you are in your career, you are really welcome to volunteer with us. We have students that love hearing from someone who is 3 months into their career, that also loves hearing from people that are, 30, 40 years into their career. We are able to match you with whatever opportunities come up. So it's really important that if you're interested and you're keen, we have a spot for you, and we would love to have you, take part in volunteering opportunities. So we would also love to say that we know how important it is to have a mentor and to be a mentee. We also know how important it is to kind of bring people under your wing and support their career progression. So if you would like to bring along someone else to volunteer, we would love to see that. We would love to see people, it's a great representation for the students that are coming on board as well, to see what it looks like to actually have people that are encouraging people in real time. So it's a really great opportunity for you to kind of practice what you preach, in that it's a really inclusive industry where people are really supportive of one another. So yeah, if you want to volunteer as a team, as a pair, please get in touch. Once again, we have so many opportunities. So the best ways for you to sign up are our newsletter. So if you follow the link that's on the screen, or we can send this out to you as well. If you sign up to our volunteer newsletter, then it means that every 2 weeks you're going to find out the most current opportunities. Or please email us directly. So that's education@gameuk.org. That's a really great way for us to be able to match you to opportunities that you're interested in. So once again, like I said about the school talks, if you have a school that you're interested in, email us and we can kind of get in touch. Or if you know that you have availability coming up in, say, August. October is a really busy time, so if anyone wants to volunteer in October, please let us know. We are keen to start matching people then. So yeah, let us know the times and the dates that you're kind of available or think you might be available, and we can start to match you as well. So there's lots of different opportunities for us to collaborate, and we want to be as flexible as we can with you. So we've kind of gone through what we do on our reach and the different ways that you can volunteer, but we do want to once again amplify why you should volunteer with us. I think once again we said knowledge is power, and supplying students with information that could shape their future is huge. We know that the information that comes into these students, the way that they react to our volunteers, and the way that they talk about how influential those talks have been on their life, we know the impact that it has. So, be an influencer, but not in that way. Influence students is what I'm saying there, and we would love to have you there. We know that students say that volunteers that they hear from, it's rewarding, it's inspiring, and it's impactful. So we would love to have you be part of all of those three things. So are there any questions that kind of go through? Yes, these are on the screen are a few things that students have said, volunteers have said. We're very lucky to have these quotes. But yeah, have a little read of that. And then if there are any questions, we'd love to hear from you.